It's such a pleasure to be here. And I think this conference is a unique opportunity to address issues related to youth employment, but most importantly, how young professionals can get engaged. I will continue my presentation, my very short speech in French, so I will invite our distinguished panelists and participants to connect to the translation. Alors, pour partager un peu mon expérience.
In order to share my experience, I would like to partager le fait que our work as doctors and researchers in Benin and around the world, we wanted to underline the urgency and importance of building a generation of professionals who are prepared, well-equipped, qualified, sufficiently agile to respond to the needs of the labor market at the national, regional, international level. We've seen all how the COVID-19 pandemic has hit very hard several countries, and especially where health professionals were not sufficiently equipped. At the same time, we see that countries which were able to anticipate and identify the importance of professions like in telemedicine and mobile health were able not to have disruptions, but they were able to have less problems. So we have to identify the required skills and make sure that these skills are matching the needs of the market. Today, more than ever, we have to make sure that the needs of 12 million young people who enter the labor market every day are satisfied, are met. We have to anticipate, we have to invest on those who are still at the university in order to ensure that their needs will be met, but also that we'll have the necessary skills before they enter the labor market. In Benin, in a few years, there is leadership entrepreneurship workshops. They develop training curricula with an accent placed on skills in the most important economic sectors. And we've witnessed the importance of the interest of that these workshops have raised and the availability of these participants to respond to the needs of the labor market and entrepreneurship. First of all, in order to address the topic of matching and skills anticipation. We have to recognize that the progress made in my country, see how we can encourage South-South cooperation by using North-South cooperation. We have to look at the new skills and the new leading sectors that raised by still looking at the new strategies and innovations which are incorporated in other sectors like the agribusiness or the industry, telemedicine, tourism, ecologic tourism, and other innovative sectors which need young professionals with the skills matching that needs. As it has been said, at the political institutional level, we want to see strategies and educational policy, employment policies which are more suitable, meeting young people needs and the needs of the labor market. It's important to have a sensible, gender-sensitive approach as well. Young women and young people should be at the center of employability policies. It is also important to share with you some recommendations, key recommendations, very pertinent, which were shared in the call of action by the previous speakers. I would like to remind you that anticipation and matching of skills played and will play a key role by guiding the labor market in identifying, not only identify, but also respond in a systematic way to the current needs and future needs in terms of skills, but also to make sure that there are no gaps between demand and offer. In terms of recommendations, I will not repeat what has already been said, because most of my recommendations are similar to the ones that have been mentioned earlier. The importance of use data according current and future trends of the labor market, at which level we have to act with priority. Enterprise, sector level, regional level, which are the interesting data to anticipate needs in terms of skills and competences. Young professional, qualified and competent, we have to have an important involvement in order to involve them in the formulation of policies and in the implementation. It is important to see how these young professionals can be supported and funded so that we can increase this, to raise the awareness and improve knowledge on the competence matching on topics like anticipation and training. It is also very important to make sure that there is a just, inclusive, equitable jobs to ensure have access to decent work for all young people. Mobilization of resources is equally key, and it up to us and our states to mobilize as much as possible the GDP so that can be invested, part of it could be invested in this sector. How can we evaluate the needs of qualification and requalification with the changing labor market? A focus that is youth-centered, young women and minorities. We talk about young people, people with disabilities. So with an inclusive approach, integrated approach to include all these perspectives. So even more important is this involvement, the political involvement at all levels, allowing to transfer the evidence into actions and changing policies and evidences so that concrete actions are strengthened and that the new actions can be implemented. And then I would also place the accent on the action shared by the approach of the conference. One aspect which is very important, which was mentioned, and I would like to place a focus on that, is to see political and strategical interfaces, capacity building, involvement of the youth, and find the resources for education. We'll keep repeating apprenticeship, access to data are very important in order to adapt these policies to these topics. The national regional observatory is a very good initiative, a regional level. We have to set up mechanisms at the national local level. This is a bit my share of experience of what is relevant and what should be used to move forward for skill anticipation and skill matching, donc the relevant involvement of young professionals. Thank you very much.
Joni, it's an excellent voice from the future. I think Mr. Hoodstead said maybe 10 years from now, the seed would have germinated, and one certainly gets the sense that with young people like yourself, it will germinate into the right hands. We've heard your affirmation of the conversations and the recommendations that have come out. And interestingly, you've gone back to a key talking point that Mr. Mthulani Mkhaliphi from Eswatini raised repeatedly yesterday, and that was about ensuring that we're creating space at the decision-making table for young people to have a voice, to have strategic interface with the policies that shape the future that they are inheriting. Of course, you've reminded us once again of a point that Mr. Christensen had made about a human-centered recovery, and you've challenged us to make sure that young people are at the center amongst many other useful points. Dr. Joni, thank you very much for that contribution.